Splunk SPLK-1003 exam practice questions with explanations are available in the video for you to study. Which configuration file parameter is specifically used within indexes? Conf to define the temporal boundary for data retention. A. Max days to keep B. Move to frozen after C. Max data retention time D. Frozen time period insex The answer is D. The frozen time period insex setting is the primary mechanism for controlling how long data remains in an index before it is moved to a frozen state. When the age of a data bucket exceeds this value in seconds, it is marked for archiving or deletion. This parameter is essential for managing disk space and compliance requirements within the index configuration. Setting this value appropriately prevents uncontrolled disk growth on indexer nodes. It operates independently of the bucket rolling policies that manage bucket states. Which specific capability is enabled when a universal forwarder is configured with indexer acknowledgement? A. Automated event alert generation. B. Guaranteed delivery tracking. C. Real-time data compression. D. Source data obfuscation. The answer is B. Indexer acknowledgement is a feature designed to prevent data loss during the transfer between the forwarder and the indexer. When enabled, the indexer must send a confirmation back to the forwarder once the data has been safely written to the disk. If the forwarder does not receive this confirmation within a specified timeframe, it will resend the data. This provides a mechanism for reliable end-to-end delivery tracking, especially over unstable network connections. It is a critical configuration for environments where data integrity is of the highest priority. In Splunk's configuration precedence logic, which action occurs if an input is matched by both a whitelist and a blacklist within the same configuration stanza? A. The whitelist takes precedence. B. The blacklist overrides the whitelist. C. The settings negate one another, allowing all data. D. The filter that appeared first in the configuration file wins. The answer is B. Splunk utilizes distinct whitelist and blacklist filters for managing incoming data streams. When both filters are defined in a configuration stanza, they act independently but follow a strict override rule. If a specific file or stream matches criteria in both lists, the blacklist filter takes absolute precedence, and the data is excluded from indexing. Consequently, administrators must exercise caution when defining overlapping patterns to avoid accidentally blocking legitimate data. This mechanism ensures that exclusion rules are strictly enforced even if inclusive patterns are defined. To modify raw data using the "-sedcmd" directive, which configuration file must be edited? A. Props. Conf B. Inputs. Conf C. Indexes. Conf D. Transforms. Conf The answer is A. The "-sedcmd" attribute is defined within a stanza in props. Conf to perform stream editing on raw events before they are fully processed. This is commonly used for tasks such as redacting sensitive information like passwords or PE from log events at index time. By applying said like syntax directly to the event stream, Splunk can modify or sanitize data before it hits the indexing pipeline. This must be configured carefully as it permanently alters the raw data stored on disk. It is a powerful tool for compliance and data hygiene within Splunk deployments. Which of the following is a supported method for adding data inputs on a universal forwarder? A. Directly editing inputs. Conf B. Configuring settings via Splunk Web UI. C. Using the forwarder. Conf file. D. Running manual commands via the local OS shell. The answer is A. While administrators have multiple options, universal forwarders are most commonly configured by directly modifying the inputs. Conf configuration file in the appropriate local directory. This file defines the monitor stanzas, source types, and index destinations for the data being collected. Other supported methods include using the command line interface, CLI, or managing them remotely via the forwarder management interface on a deployment server. Configuring via the file system allows for version control and automation via configuration management tools. It is the most flexible approach for complex, scalable deployments. Which directory serves as the root container for Splunk configuration files on a standard Linux installation? A. $Splunk_home, etc. B. $Splunk_home, var C. $Splunk_home, bin D. $Splunk_home, default The answer is A. The $Splunk_home, etc. directory is the central location where all configuration files for the Splunk instance reside. This includes global system configurations, app-specific configurations, and user-level overrides. Splunk organizes configurations into subdirectories such as system apps and users to manage precedence and scope. Understanding this directory structure is vital for an administrator to troubleshoot configuration conflicts and apply changes correctly. Direct editing of files within this path requires a restart or a reload of the Splunk daemon to take effect. Which type of forwarder is required if the architectural goal is to parse and route data locally before sending it to an indexer? A. Universal forwarder. B. Heavy forwarder. C. Light forwarder. D. Edge forwarder. The answer is B. A heavy forwarder is a full instance of Splunk Enterprise configured to perform data parsing, indexing timefield extractions, and routing. Unlike a universal forwarder, which only forwards raw data, a heavy forwarder can break data into events and route them to different indexers based on specific criteria. This capability is essential for offloading processing tasks from indexers or for sensitive data masking at the edge. It serves as an intermediate processing tier, providing greater control over the data pipeline before it enters the storage layer. In a distributed environment, which component is responsible for gathering results from multiple indexers and preparing the final reports for the end user? A. Indexer cluster master. B. Forwarder. C. Search head. D. License master. The answer is C. The search head is the component dedicated to handling user requests and distributed search execution. When a user runs a search, the search head dispatches the query to all applicable indexers, which then perform the search locally on their stored data. The search head then receives these partial results, consolidates, merges, and formats them into a final response. This separation of search management from data storage allows Splunk to scale horizontally. Without the search head's coordination, users would not have a unified view of data across multiple indexers. Which Splunk component acts as the central hub for distributing apps and configuration updates to members of a search head cluster? A. Deployer. B. Cluster master. C. Deployment server. D. License master. The answer is A. In a search head cluster environment, the deployer is specifically designed to manage the distribution of configurations and apps. It pushes configuration bundles to all search head cluster members to ensure that all nodes maintain a consistent configuration state. This differs from the deployment server, which is typically used for managing forwarders and non-clustered instances. The deployer facilitates seamless upgrades and management of complex search head clusters. It is an indispensable part of the search head cluster architecture for maintaining synchronization. When an indexer cluster is in use, which file system location for configuration files takes the absolute highest priority? A. $Splunk_home, etc. System, local B. $Splunk_home, etc. Slave apps or equivalent peer app directory. C. $Splunk_home, etc. Apps, app_name, local D. $Splunk_home, etc. Users, admin, local The answer is B. In an indexer cluster environment, the configuration precedence is altered to ensure that the cluster master can enforce consistency across all peer nodes. Configurations pushed by the cluster master to the peer app directories, formerly slave apps, are granted the highest precedence. This ensures that cluster-wide settings successfully override any local app or system configurations that might conflict. An administrator must be aware of this specific layering order to avoid issues where local changes are ignored by the cluster manager. This design is crucial for maintaining the operational stability of a clustered storage environment.